Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a long journey to get here. We've waited years for this moment. In fact, some may even say they've been waiting their whole lives for this moment. That's right. For at long last, we've arrived at the point in time when our greatest anticipated event within the Legend of Zelda franchise has occurred. We have a completed playthrough on our hands, folks. It actually happened. We'll be getting into that in a moment. But before we do, I'm SqatCobblr of the Scrollies podcast, and I'm joined by my co-host.
I finally took my breath of the wild, waiting for RelientK to finish that. I was holding my breath of the wild that whole time. Oh my goodness.
Still not as hard as holding your breath through the Mission Impossible 5 underwater scene.
Indeed.
Which I do to this day every time I watch it.
And we all tried.
And folks, if you weren't aware, if you can't read the title, we have on a very special guest. One that is now in the ranks of a Breath of the Wild completer, RelientKFan. Welcome to Scrollies.
Hey, it's me, RelientKFan. I just beat Breath of the Wild. Quite literally.
He is actively rolling credits on this game.
Here.
He held up his Switch to show us.
Here's like 2 seconds of credits music for you. Wait. There you go. There you go.
That's going to sound amazing.
I bet that came in so clear. RelientKFan, you can now divide your life into 2 parts, before and after you beat Breath of the Wild. We are now in the after. The entirety of your life before that was before you beat it. So, welcome to the other side.
It's, I don't know, it does feel like the beginning of a new era.
You know, I'd say it's pretty apt that we're talking about a new era, considering a new era of Zelda is about to begin.
That is true.
Or perhaps it began 6 years ago. I guess we'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But before we do, RelientKFan, how many Korok seeds did you collect?
Well, I'm in the credits.
Skip past them!
Can I? Let me see if it'll let me. Hang on. Oh, okay, I can. Oh, there's a little star next to my save now. That's fun.
Wow. You're a special gold star.
It's like I'm Mario. 317 Korok seeds is the answer.
Wow.
317. Everybody, I don't think I've ever seen that many Korok seeds together in my life.
Wow.
In fact, I've only seen 155 Korok seeds myself.
Oh, no.
On my playthrough of Breath of the Wild. I know. I didn't even max out all of my item slots for pickups, so.
I maxed out the swords and the bows, which is what matters.
I consider it a great shame upon myself that I didn't spend frivolous time wandering around, checking under every rock, climbing every tree, jumping into circles of flowers in the water. It's a mark of great shame.
It's like that one song, the Climb Every Mountain, the Climb Every Tree song.
Is that Porter Robinson or RelientK?
No, it's neither.
Nadion?
No, I can't. It's from like a musical or something. Is it like Sound of Music? I don't know.
Sound of Music. Do we have any musical fans listening? Can they confirm where the Climb the Mountain song comes from?
It's a show tune from The Sound of Music.
No.
I was right.
Sound of Music.
It's Climb Every Mountain. EV''RY.
RK-Fan knows his bands, he knows his concerts, and he knows his musicals.
Well,
Excellent work, RelientKFan. Well, you indeed have climbed nearly every mountain to get to this point.
that was the goal.
Ratnado, how about yourself? How many Korok seeds did you collect?
Look, I played this game a lot for a little time, and then I kind of moved on once I completed it. Once I beat Ganon. And I only got 147, I believe.
Oh.
But I didn't spend as much time with this game. Oh, actually, though, you know what's true? Is I probably played Age of Calamity more than I did Breath of the Wild. I definitely have more hours in Age of Calamity.
Do you, how many hours do you have I can tell you how many I have.
Yeah, I think I've got like 100 and something, and I think I have almost 250 in Age of Calamity.
I believe I have 140 hours, but I can't check because it's not on my Switch. I played it on Wii U, which does track your hours, but I don't have it on right now, so I can't actually open up and investigate that.
Mine is a little inaccurate because I did fall asleep with it running last night and probably did another time or two, but it does say 225 hours at the moment, which is coming up on 10 days of my life.
That's a pretty good amount.
RelientKFan, this whole week you might as well have been living in Hyrule, it feels like.
Honestly.
Well, RelientKFan, now that you have beat the game and no doubt have had ample time to collect your thoughts on it in its entirety, I say let's dive into this game. Breath of the Wild, released 2017 simultaneously on Wii U and Switch, but 95% of people played it on Switch.
Never forget the Wii U.
What'd you think of it, RelientKFan? How do you feel about this game?
Well, maybe worth noting the long journey that it took me to get here. So Zelda had to fight off Ganon for me. She was there for 100 years, and then 100 plus 4, 6, depending on how you look at it. I started it when I got my Switch in summer 2019. Played a lot for like 2 years, just taking my sweet time. Like you said, going under every rock, jumping in circles of lily pads, finding Koroks, and opening chests, and having a barrel of monkeys without the monkeys, because there's no monkeys in the game.
Twilight Princess had monkeys, folks. I just want to remind everyone of that. So does Link to the Past.
Wow. I guess to make Breath of the Wild inferior.
So does Majora's Mask.
So does Link's Awakening.
It'd be really embarrassing if Breath of the Wild did have monkeys and I forgot. But yeah, I finally beat it right before this recording, because Squat came to me and said, hey, you want to do a Scrollies about Breath of the Wild? And I said yes. I played it a lot and I didn't expect to go quite to the wire as I did, but I did. So my thoughts on it are very fresh, and I like it. is the answer. It took me 4 years to get to there.
Well, that is very valid, RK. I'm glad you were able to state it so concisely after all the time you spent in it. Ratnado, how about yourself? What are your thoughts on this game, Breath of the Wild?
So, as we're talking about, I mean, kind of a little bit of a giveaway there where I said I have double the time in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity as I do in Breath of the Wild. That might be a little bit telling. However, I do think, I'm just going to state first off that I think Breath of the Wild is a really good game, a really fun game. I remember diving back into it at the beginning of COVID, and when I was just like feeling like really alone, man, me and Link, we would just go and explore and listen to podcasts. And I will say it got me through a lot. It legitimately was like therapy for me, because I was like, okay, I'm not like competing with anybody. Like, I'm not online. This might be before I started streaming even. And it was just solitude, beautiful landscapes. So I also would say I like it, but I think I have a lot that Chunky Cat would not approve of, or that she would not be happy to hear. Let's say it that way.
Yeah, Cat's going to be scratching hard at this episode, despite RK-Fan's best efforts to the contrary.
I'll try, Chunky. I'll try.
As for myself, it's a little complicated, folks. You see, Breath of the Wild was likely, if not the most, then one of my most hyped games of all time. I remember when they first announced it officially in 2014 with that teaser trailer of Link in Hyrule Field, vast and open, with the promise you could go anywhere you laid eyes on. And then suddenly, Link rides off, attacked by some robot squid-looking thing, and shoots an arrow with blue glowy tip. It was a long wait after that, because we were promised to get it the next year. It clearly didn't happen. So a whole 3 years I waited. I waited patiently. I waited. Despite my best efforts, I waited with expectations. And were all those expectations met? No. But nonetheless, I enjoyed my time with it. I tend to have this thing that happens when I play Zelda games, where I get like basically 2/3 of the way through the game, have a really good time with it, and then I suddenly just drop it and like pick it up again after maybe like 6 months, and I beat it at that point. This happened with Breath of the Wild, but instead of 6 months, it was a full year. Part of that was because I was in school and I was very busy.
I kind of did the same thing.
Oh, really? You don't say.
Squat, you got it first when immediately when it came out, and RK about 2 years later in 2019.
Because I didn't have a Switch, I bought it on Wii U at launch, but then I waited. My Wii U was left back home, so that Wii U guy at the time got to play it instead of me for the first few months. And then when that summer hit and I went home, I played it through. So all that being said, there were things I wanted out of this game, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it for years, what exactly that was. But now I can confidently say I thoroughly wanted Breath of the Wild to beat Elden Ring.
Wow.
Now that I've played it, Elden Ring has given me exactly what I wanted at the time from Breath of the Wild, and then some. Will I explain that further? Not really. Did I want a Soulsborne Zelda? No. The sense of exploration and the compelling you to just explore every corner, wondering what's on the other side. Yeah, I got that out of Elden Ring, and I felt like it was much more worthwhile in that game than in Breath of the Wild. But overall, I like it. Don't let anything I'm about to say demonstrate otherwise. I do think that it may be perhaps a tad overrated, but nonetheless, good game. So, RelientKFan, you come into this with the perspective of this being your only Zelda game.
I do. I was about to bring that up, yes.
You don't have a frame of reference, and you can pretty much look at this game in a vacuum and see it for what it is, which I don't know if me and Ratnado will ever be able to put ourselves into that perspective ourselves.
Now, I should clarify, I do have a small amount of other Zelda experience. I played about 10 minutes of the Link's Awakening remake when I visited That's Mori once.
And you did the white rafting minigame.
Yeah, the rafting minigame, it was a blast. I played the demo of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Ratnado's one with a lot of hours. And I also, as a young child, played the demo of Minish Cap in Best Buy.
Ooh.
So those three plus Breath of the Wild. And Smash if you want to be crazy.
Not on this podcast.
You know, the Best Buy Minish Cap gives him a little more cred than myself, so I think RK should honestly take the title of Zelda fan from me. So I think on the other extreme, Ratnado, you have a pretty lifelong history with Zelda yourself, don't you?
Yeah. I started with the original. I don't think I played 2 for a long time, but I have played 2 since. It's actually kind of a fun game. Link to the Past probably was my favorite for a very long time. It might still be my favorite. I haven't really dealt with those in a long time. And then I've played pretty much everything as it came out, minus I think Oracle of Ages and Seasons. And I've played Spirit Tracks, but I haven't played Phantom Hourglass. Outside of that, I've played just about everything, maybe not finished all of them, but I've played most of them. So coming to Breath of the Wild, 100% there was just already a feeling of changing from what I was used to in some good ways and a lot of bad ways. Sqat, I think I kind of understand what you mean with Elden Ring. And the thing that was the most fun for me is kind of the thing that eventually was what kind of made me fall out of love with Breath of the Wild. There's kind of a pastiche of stuff. There's these hints at things that never truly get explored or aren't really ever dealt with. For example, the Zonai, and there's a lot you can explore around and look at, but the game never tells you anything. And who knows? Maybe that's part of Tears of the Kingdom. And for me, I like a really solid through line with the story. And that's kind of the thing with Breath of the Wild. There really wasn't a super strong through line.
Perhaps you have justified the need for a sequel just now, Ratnado. As for myself, I fall somewhere in the middle. I have not played all the Zelda games. I have not played them my whole life. I have just a little over 10 years history with the series. I started in 2011, right before Skyward Sword, with Twilight Princess on the Wii. Why that game? Well, I may have played a little fighter called Super Smash Bros. Brawl that heavily highlighted that particular entry in the series.
Did that one have the 3-minute demo? Did it have a 3-minute demo of Twilight Princess to get you hooked?
Man, they should have thought about that when they were putting all those masterpieces in the collection on Brawl. They should have included a little Twilight Princess demo, but alas, they didn't. I had to go to the store and pick up a full disc of the game to experience that one myself. After that, I worked my way through all of the 3D games, kind of out of order, but generally speaking, it went Skyward Sword when it was new, Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Breath of the Wild. Yeah. So a little bit of back and forth there, but eventually we got to where we are now. The 2D games I have not played in full. Every time I play a new one, I get a little sad because I'm that much closer to having no more new Zeldas to play. The last one that I played that was a new experience to me was Link's Awakening, the Switch remake, and really, really enjoyed that one. Probably up there with my favorites at this point. I was not expecting it to have as much of an effect on me as it did. That being said, Breath of the Wild, it came with the promise that it was going to do away with the tired conventions of the Zelda formula as we had come to know them. And as someone who had really enjoyed Zelda games before Breath of the Wild, I I can kind of see why they did it. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, the 3D games, Ocarina of Time through Skyward Sword, hadn't really changed the core gameplay since the N64.
Yeah.
The 2D games, for what they're worth, I mean, they were doing some pretty creative things in the 2010s, but nonetheless, they were top down. They were not everyone's cup of tea. I think people are much more inclined to play the 3D Zeldas over the 2D. So we're really looking for a complete reworking of what we had known Zelda to be. In an open world for the first time, asterisks, with the technological capabilities of providing a real open world experience. Because I think they had basically done their best to make it open world before that in several titles. That being said, I don't know. Like I had said before, I was expecting certain things out of Breath of the Wild, and I feel like, while I got a lot of them, that sense of exploration, the really well-designed overworld, there was just so many things that were inherent to what made Zelda Zelda for me. The puzzles, the characters, the storylines that just were almost an afterthought in Breath of the Wild. Really, I haven't had the desire nor the need to go back to it since I beat it in 2018, whereas I've gone back to Ocarina of Time many times in the years since, where I've longed to go back to Wind Waker. I played through that just a couple of years ago for the second time, and there was plenty of new experiences for me there. Twilight Princess, likewise, I need to get back to at some point. That's been a long time since I played that first one. So, I don't know. It's something where I feel like I don't need any more from Breath of the Wild, and I'm just ready for the next thing. And whether that next thing is Tears of the Kingdom or a brand new game completely made from scratch, we'll see. I guess that all depends on how this new one stacks up.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, and I'd like to know your perspective on this, RK fan, is like,
Sure,
for me,
yeah.
who, like Squat's saying, Zeldas have a formula. You know, you go to this temple, you go to this temple, and then you get all these pieces of whatever, and you come together, and now you're ready for the final fight. That's actually one of the things that I kind of felt was like not as well done and didn't feel like Zelda, because it was still like the formula, but now it's just like, well, we're gonna have you talk with the champions for like a couple seconds, and it's still kind of the same thing. Like the beasts were kind of just simpler dungeons, I guess, and you know, as much fun as they were, like, you know, they were pretty cool. There's not like a lot of replayability to me, because it's kind of like they all kind of look the same because it's that type of construction.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, is for you, RK fan, is that something like, did you notice that, or did it like make a difference to you at all that it wasn't like I'm saying, like, oh, the fire temple, now the water temple?
I mean, as previously stated, I haven't played like Ocarina. I've seen gameplay over my life of people playing Ocarina. I know the infamous water temple, obviously, and I know that there's other temples, etc., etc. I don't know. It didn't really bother me, just because, like, anytime I was in that, like, the ancient kind of architecture, I was like, this is cool. I like seeing this. So I liked, and again, there's only, I mean, I guess you count the shrines are smaller though. I really like the shrines for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Because I think they're just like nice little bite-sized morsels. But I enjoyed them.
Here's the thing. It is still a Zelda game in the sense that it's a puzzle game. It's changed from item-based puzzles to physics-based puzzles. That's totally fine by me. I don't have any issue with that. As great as I think the hookshot would be for the very premise of the game in exploring all different kinds of areas in all kinds of different ways, hey, I'll let that go. But ultimately, it's just so samey. RK, you may not have minded the ancient temples, but what if I told you that in one of the games, a dungeon is literally the belly of a fish that you go inside of? Or you go into this broken apart, floating islands in the sky, and that's a dungeon.
No, that's the broken apart islands in the sky. You're talking about Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, you may think so, and you may even think that I'm talking about Skyward Sword, but I'm not.
That was my actual guess.
But there was just so much creativity in all the different landscapes and all the different themes, and the dungeons weren't even just about the puzzles. They were like telling little stories in and of themselves a lot of the time. And sure, they weren't always amazing, but like Skyward Sword, for as meh as that game's actual overworld was, it did the dungeons great. And then Breath of the Wild was like the other way around. I felt like, anyway. I don't know how they're going to bridge the gap. I don't know if they even want to bridge the gap as far as the dungeons go in Tears of the Kingdom. But it just feels like it's such a core part of what Zelda always has been. Going back to the original one, that it was just kind of an afterthought and appealing to people that like to play Skyrim or any other open world game. It's like, well, they obviously want to just spend time in the overworld, right? The dungeons are just like a little side thing they do. It's like, no, they're half the game.
You just reminded me. I completely forgot. I do have a little bit more Zelda experience I did not list. I played maybe 45 minutes of the very first Zelda on NES Online, and I was like, this is rough. Didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, you need the kids on the playground to tell you which random wall to bomb so you can actually get to this next point of progress in the game.
Yeah, what is this, Super Metroid?
Bad game design.
Bad game design.
I want to circle back to something Squat just said, though. I do find it interesting that you mentioned that you've gone back to Ocarina and Wind Waker. And one day I'll probably play both of the Wind Waker. I'm most interested in just art style wise, I guess. But those are both like much more linear than Breath of the Wild, which not that that's a bad. I mean, I like linear things, but like in my mind, anytime I've replayed a game, it's something more linear because it's like, oh, I got a thing to do or whatever. Versus like, if I'm gonna like Breath of the Wild is more of a just like kick back and just like chill game for me given my number of hours. So it's not like, I mean, I have the DLC that I still have to do, so I have to do that, but I don't know if I see myself replaying it anytime soon because I'm gonna be a maniac and try to get all the Korok seeds and that's gonna take me to my deathbed.
Arcade, what if I told you Breath of the Wild wasn't the first Zelda to do non-linearity?
Hang on. I'm not saying. No, that's why I was a little confused when Breath of the Wild was coming out. They're like, it's the first open world Zelda. I'm like, I thought they were like semi-open world to begin with, at least some of them.
So to explain to yourself and for those that don't know, the game that immediately preceded Breath of the Wild in terms of new entry released was A Link Between Worlds. And A Link Between Worlds touted itself as you can do the dungeons in any order you want. And it's still very much an item-based, top-down traditional Zelda, but there's no guiding you as, okay, we've done the forest temple, now we got to go to the fire and then the water. It's not like that. It's like, hey, you want to go do the sand one next? Cool, just use the sand item and you can go over there. And I mean, Link Between Worlds is really, really good. It often like goes in and out as my favorite Zelda game. The list is never the same. It depends on the day. But to then see Breath of the Wild be like, oh well, so you're not confined by the hand-holding of the storyline of previous entries. I don't know if they use that exact terminology, but that's basically just how I was getting from the marketing. And like, you can do anything in any order you want. But I feel like that's holding the game back in so many ways, most notably in the storyline, that it can't actually do anything super unique or clever because it doesn't necessarily know what order you're going to play it in. Yeah. And that for me was a big issue when I played it. Like, the fact that you go to all of these different races and their towns and they just feel so isolated. It's like they don't even realize or talk about the fact that you just helped the Zora right across the kingdom. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're just too concerned with our own problems. We're not even going to bring it up. Sure, okay, maybe there's just a lot of branching dialogue options that make that an impossibility. But they literally have travelers from the other races in all these towns that could have at least said, oh, hey, you helped out my people. Thanks for doing that. Or, we're dealing with something pretty rough ourselves right now. Let me tell you.
I didn't think of the travelers. That's a good point. Before you said that, I was going to say, like, to me, that never stuck in my mind because it felt like the world was pretty big and there's, like, the giant plain with all the guardians in the middle that no one's really crossing. So it felt like they were isolated, like, for that reason, kind of. Like, the world is, like, a little broken.
I mean, there's always going to be monsters in Hyrule Field. It doesn't stop news from traveling.
Yeah,
the postman still runs
sure.
around and delivers letters despite it all.
Yeah.
I don't know how he gets across that field right now. But.
Squat, I just really quick, I wanted to say on that. That is kind of like my whole thing of what made me realize kind of I didn't love Breath of the Wild as much as I thought I did. I was always a person like, no, Breath of the Wild's the best. It's such a good game. And then the more I thought about it, like, let me lay out really quick the loop. After you've done the tutorial and you can go anywhere and do what you want. Let me see if you can figure out which exactly one I'm talking about. You see something in the distance and you start to go out there. Someone stops to talk to you. Oh no, they turned into a ninja that tries to attack you. You got to fight them. But somehow you get away where you walk into this new terrain different from the other one you've been in. And you happen across this really cool warrior hero of a unique race you've never met before who's going to turn out to be a descendant of one of the champions. and you have to get on the beast and free it. Which one is that? Which one exactly am I talking about?
You're clearly talking about the lizard. No, wait, the elephant. The camel? The bird, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. And they're all like good. I like all the characters, but the more I thought about it, the more it's just like you're just kind of reserving the same thing over and over. And that's what made me not like it as much, because it's like I want something new, I want something to build, and it kind of all like goes into the same bowl, you know? So to me, it's like almost like a salad where it's like, okay, now you gotta put in the lettuce. All right, now you gotta put in the crouton. You know, like it's like you're not like, okay, the salad's done. Now we're gonna have a burger, and now we're gonna get fries. It's like we're just tossing more in. And the shrines, every time it's like, what do I have to do in this shrine? I gotta get the balls to there. Okay, let's do this for the 50th time. And people love that. I enjoyed it. I did a bunch of them. I've done so many of them. But on like kind of what you're saying on replay, to me, that's kind of what got me of just like, it all kind of ends up feeling the same.
All right, Nato, let's not kid ourselves. The Gerudo questline is the best one because Link cross-dresses. But aside from that...
True.
And for me, it's like, yeah, sure, the storyline has all these interesting things that happened 100 years ago that you only see through flashback.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that's actually happening to you in the moment is just like, you make your own story. See that thing in the distance? Go find it. Oh, you get sidetracked along the way because the world is so well designed. And like, yeah, it is. But like, I want storylines. I want characters. I wanted the champions to be like actually involved and like interesting characters with development. Instead, they're just archetypes. I was so let down by the champions in this game. I was hoping for something like a beefed up version of the Resistance and Twilight Princess, where there are these members of all these races across the whole land that you meet along your journey, and you find out, oh, they actually a secret society trying to free Hyrule or something. I don't know. It wasn't super fleshed out in Twilight Princess, but neither was it in Breath of the Wild. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
The champions were a bit of a letdown.
Yeah. In that sense, I'm with you, Ratnado. Age of Calamity, way better story because they're actually like involved and you're interacting with them the whole time. But then there's the cute robot, so.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that they just like, again, it's just like these pastiches of, you kind of know what they are and you like them. But, and maybe part of it too is playing Age of Calamity and like, oh my gosh, you learn so much. Like I hated Rivali so much in Breath of the Wild. He's like my favorite character in Age of Calamity.
Before you said that, I was about to say, I was like, can we say our least favorite champion on 3? Because I was going to say him.
Okay.
And see if we all said the same thing.
For our least favorite champion, he probably gave me my favorite ability though, so there's that.
That's true. That's the funny thing about it. Yeah.
That's how you balance him out.
Yep. Hate his personality, but I like that I can fly.
Speaking of, do we want to take a moment to talk about how hot garbage the ending of Breath of the Wild is now that Arcade's played it?
Now I was just thinking, I was like, wow, this episode ended up being spoiler free. So never mind.
Yes, we have to.
Spoiler alert for those concerned, for those that still haven't beat it after 6 years and 2 months. Arcade no longer is one of you, so.
I can't believe Link is future Ganon. I cannot believe it. Crazy.
Mind-blowing, truly. Yeah, you fight Ganon, and then you fight a bigger Ganon? Sorry, Arcade. That's what we had to keep from you all these years.
No, but okay, when I told you 5 minutes, I was finishing it up. Your guesstimate was right. However, I thought it would be 5 minutes because I didn't think there'd be a second boss fight. I thought it would be done after that. Now, I will say, the fact that it was on a horse I thought was cool. Although my horse did die right in the very end. My horse got whomped, and then I flew up and landed the final shot. And I felt a little bad because the horse died in the process. But.
He avenged the horse and ended his Breath of the Wild journey in that manner. No, for me, it's like, hey, we're gonna hype up Ganon as this like ultimate threat. It could be the end of Hyrule as we know it forever. You're not ready to fight him, Link. He's so strong. He's too much for you. You gotta go and fight all these mini versions of himself in the Divine Beasts. And then you go and fight him, and he's so easy. And then if you do all the quest lines the game's encouraging you to, he's even more easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was so let down by that end fight. I was like, are you kidding me? This is literally, like, I think I might have died like once, and only because I was like being stupid.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
And then Zelda coming at the end to like give you a non-ending little cutscene was, yeah, sure. Let's not even see anything that happens like after Hyrule is saved.
Yeah. I was surprised it kind of ended right there. I kind of expected to see a little bit more. But I don't have any other Zelda endings to compare it to, so I won't hate it.
True.
Well, Link makes a big old wish on the Triforce and everything is okay.
Yeah.
And some of them anyway. For me, that's honestly what is most compelling about there being a sequel, is the fact that we actually get a follow-up to this terrible, terrible ending that Breath of the Wild left us with 6 years ago.
That does make me think, I want to bring up as a point of comparison, spoilers for Mario Odyssey, which I just finished earlier this year.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm spoiling two 2017 6-year-old games in one podcast. Incredible. Just finished that this year. I think the ending couple of hours of that game are great. You fight a dragon, you go to some cool Bowser kingdom that's like not just a generic castle for once, and then you go to the freaking moon, which when it wasn't until after I beat it, I'm like, this makes so much sense, because it's like literally the title of the game has the moon behind it, because you're leaving a Cap Kingdom. You're collecting moons the whole game.
And you're supposed to jump up, Superstar.
Yeah, you gotta jump up to the moon. Yeah, that was my next point.
Just jump really high.
Where's the moon? In space.
There's also, I mean, the second song at the end is as good as Jump Up Superstar, but I didn't know that there was a second song with lyrics, and when I heard that, I was like, whoa, there's a second song? And I was getting chills throughout. I love the ending of Odyssey. I think the ending of that game's great. Obviously, they're very different games, so it's a little It's also like Mario, so you don't go there for story. But best Mario ending since Galaxy 1.
Peach revealed her true self. She did them both dirty. She was going to leave him on the moon. Mario's wasting his time. He can do better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the storyline was a letdown. I'm optimistic that it's going to be significantly better in Tears of the Kingdom, just from what I've seen so far. However, I'm not going to be solely sold on the final trailer, because the final trailer for Breath of the Wild is probably one of the best game trailers of all time, and that's mostly cutscenes. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
There is like one thing I want to bring up that's like been on my mind throughout this, but honestly like for years. So Breath of the Wild, obviously very well-known game. It's like one of the highest rated games on Metacritic ever.
IGN's #1 game of all time, as Plaidman can attest to.
Oh, that list is something else. But I don't think that's a terrible pick. The interesting thing, there's so many people who have played this game, and I've seen so many people share their thoughts about it online. There are a lot of people, myself being one of them, who it's like their first Zelda game. And while I recognize that it's like there's definitely some differences in terms of all the things we've talked about here, I think it's part of what makes it so good to me is that it's just a good game and not necessarily a good Zelda game, and it's just so well designed. Like I was playing it a bunch this past week, and there was like still new things I was discovering after 200 plus hours of playing it. And there's also this one thing I'd seen this one person say online that it was not their first Zelda game, but their very first video game.
Wow.
And I think that's really, really, really cool. I think it just shows off, like, I mean, you got this beautiful open world, you got these like all these physics kind of tools you can mess with. Like, it's got a little bit of everything, and I think it's, as an introduction to video games, I think that's like kind of beautiful in a way.
Yeah, it really does do a good job of just being open to all skill levels, open to all types of players, allowing you to basically tackle a problem in whichever manner you think. It may not be the best, may not be the most efficient, but you can lay down a bunch of flame swords to keep warm. Sure, why not? Ultimately, though, Arcade, it's and please don't let this sound like I'm gatekeeping. Anyone who wants to come into the Zelda fandom, you are more than welcome. We are happy to take you. It feels to me that in an effort to make this big new game, which everyone knew was going to be this hit, because it was so hyped, Nintendo basically made an entirely different type of game than they had ever made before, and put a bunch of Zelda things in it, and more or less recaptured the sense of exploration that you get from Zelda, and calling it a Zelda game. And yeah, it is. I don't want to call it a bad Zelda game. I feel like that's a stupid argument. Oh, it's a good game, but a bad Zelda game. I've heard that over the years, and I think that's dumb. It is a Zelda game.
Yeah.
It's a good Zelda game. But it just isn't representing the series in an honest light to newcomers, I feel like. Maybe that's because it's not trying to. Maybe it's strictly just trying to be a brand new style. I think this is how the 3D games will be going forward. I accept that. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're not going back to how things were before, nor really should we. At one time, I said that once you play Breath of the Wild as your first Zelda game, you can't go back to the old ones because you're going to not like the linear, you're not going to like the rigid structure of the puzzles, that you can only solve them one way, whatnot.
I do remember you saying that.
No longer agree with that statement because I've met a lot of people since that who have started with Breath of the Wild and gone back to the older Zeldas and love them. So clearly I was off base with that. So my apologies. But there's still just a lot the series offers that I feel like needs to come back into the spotlight.
Sure.
For it to really be representative of the Zelda series at its best possible state.
Well, when I get 2 more Zelda games under my belt in the next 6 years, I'll be sure to let you guys know my thoughts.
Hey, I'm just hyped to get back together in 2029 to talk about Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh yeah, can't wait. I don't know, I'm really gonna have to be scheduling out all my playtime, make sure I finish before then.
Yeah, I think overall, I somewhat agree. I think Breath of the Wild as a game is just phenomenal. I think it's an incredible game, and like there's so many people that love it. Chunky Cat maybe, in my opinion, loves it a little too much. There's other games out there, Chunky Cat. That's all I'm saying. And you can snap back at me with Final Fantasy 14. But hey, I play other games, and I'm playing Metroid Dread.
Let's go.
Chunky Cat has a lot in common with Esquire in the sense that Chunky has played about 6 games.
Yeah. And the big ones.
Yeah.
Just the big ones. The thing I'll say, though, about Breath of the Wild is I think it's a really good game. It has a lot of the Zelda stuff. And so I get kind of like what you were saying, SqatCobblr. Like, it has the appearance of a Zelda. It has a lot of the trappings. It does feel like they did a bunch of stuff. And a lot of that stuff I'm a big fan of. I love the voice acting. I really like just the style of it. And the combat's really fun. There's also a lot of stuff I didn't really like about it, and a lot of that, like I said, I found in Age of Calamity, this Musou game that was, like, story-wise, a million times better to me than Breath of the Wild. Gameplay-wise, it's fine, it's okay, but it gave me so much lore, so much backstory, so much, like, hey, we're gonna show you something, and, like, I always joke around, shout out Sibylla's Scribbles, the music is incredible, it's way better than the Breath of the Wild music. Go listen to it.
Yeah, do we want to take a real quick moment, since it is the topical subject, to notate our hype levels on Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah.
You two go first, because mine's...
RK, you've waited a lot shorter time than everyone else has since beating the game to actually play the sequel, so...
It's gonna be a tough, 8 days for me to wait. Yeah, I have nothing to sustain me except for the DLC I haven't played from Breath of the Wild.
I mean, same though, I haven't played the DLC either.
And the nearly 600 Korok seeds I have left to get. I don't know what I'm gonna do with all this time.
No, the true content.
The true... Oh man. Well, my answer is probably more anticlimactic than you're hoping for, because I currently do not have it pre-ordered because I am currently poor. So I'm trying to focus more on getting income so that I can spend said income. Will I love to play it one day? Yes. I'll probably get it in 2025 and just keep up my get it 2 years after release schedule, maybe. Who knows?
On a sale. Nintendo might drop it down 5 cents.
Yeah, you might be able to exchange it for some gold points that you'd spend on another full price game.
Yep.
Well, RK, let me tell you, my Triforce wish is that you will get Tears of the Kingdom within the foreseeable future. I know you don't know what the Triforce is, but maybe it'll be in Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know.
It's the isn't that it's like the ice cream cone?
It's actually 3 wedges of cheese. Thanks, just really into dairy.
Oh, I thought it was like the game from Cracker Barrel.
Oh yeah. No, a lot of people think that.
It is if you have 3 of them.
I mean, yeah. It makes me an ignoramus.
Nice.
Ratnado, how about yourself? How are you feeling about Tears of the Kingdom as it is very soon going to be upon us?
I feel like I don't have a choice. I'm gonna have to play it. I have to.
You always have a choice, Ratnado.
I have to. I'm compelled enough to give it a try. I will say honestly,
if Chunky Cat has claws to your back, blink 3 times. Uh-oh.
That was
that was like
more
4
than 3
times, so I
plates.
don't know what that means, folks.
From everything I've seen so far, I haven't seen the last trailer. I will say though that I'm gonna do it because I'm hoping. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. But like the focus of everything I've seen so far is just on like, hey, mess around with stuff, play with physics. Let's create a flying raft. That I didn't care about that, and that seems to be like, from everything I've seen, maybe that's not true. It's just like, hey, now you can stick your sword to your shield and you can do this and you can create a tractor, and I'm like, I do not care about that at all. Like, that was the least interesting thing to me. I just want more story. I truly do not really care that much about gameplay. I just want good story, and Breath of the Wild dropped the ball there, but I'm hoping that even some of the stuff we're talking about, they took note of that and said, hey, let's put in something for those people who really love that.
I do have to say, it does feel good to have Breath of the Wild under my belt, and like Scott was saying at the beginning of this, it does feel like a new Genesis, you could say.
Until now, if you wanted real arcade games, you had to go to the arcades. Now you don't. Sega Genesis has changed all that, with games that look, play, and sound like the real arcade games, because they are the real arcade games. From Sega, the masters of arcade entertainment. But only if you own Genesis. From Sega, we bring the arcade experience home.
You know, Arcade, I have to agree. It also feels good for us that you have Breath of the Wild under your belt.
It does. It's great.
Yeah. Now we can fully talk about how Link is future Ganon.
Link is Ganon from the future.
Oh gosh, I've been waiting for so long.
As per myself, I'm going to notate my hype levels on a numbered scale, starting from the first trailer to the last trailer. First E3 trailer. Oh, cool. There's going to be another one. 6.
Yeah.
The E3 trailer that me and RK-Fam actually watched together. You can see a highlight for that probably in the description down below. Oh, cool. It's Skyward Sword, but better. 7.5. Maybe even an 8. You know, I'll give it an 8. That one in the summer that was just more Tears of the Kingdom without the title reveal. 7. It dropped down a little bit because I'm like, all right, well, I still don't know anything else about this game. Then we finally got the title reveal. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, back to 8. Why not? The gameplay reveal. Yo, this just looks like DLC. All the things I wanted from a sequel. You can't go underwater. I don't think there's any new music. I don't see any indication of actually fully fleshed out dungeons with theming. We're going down to 3.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Holy cow.
Legitimately, a couple months ago when that came out, I wasn't even sure if I was going to get the game until it went on sale in like 5 years. I was like, I might as well not even bother and just play Breath of the Wild some more. But then, folks, that final trailer dropped. The one from a few weeks ago.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, RK, let me just tell you, that final trailer, the second that saxophone kicked in, we're up to a 9, baby. I'm hyped again.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll see. It honestly, I'm kind of with Ratnado. It all depends on how much the story is actually a focus and really just how much it can justify the fact that there was a 6-year gap between games that they could have just made an entirely new Zelda game from scratch.
Yep. Same.
If they actually expand on Breath of the Wild tenfold in every way and make it worth your while, like we're talking the Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time, except that was in 1 year, but we'll ignore that because of COVID. Then sure, yeah. Why not? It deserves every right to exist. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to come out soon. I'm probably going to get it after Metroid May, but I will be getting it very soon, and I will let you all know my thoughts. I will not be streaming it. I think I will have this be my relaxation game and keep it offline. But I will hopefully beat it in the same amount of time I beat Breath of the Wild, which was 1.5 years.
Nice.
All right, everybody. We have come to the end of this discussion. For now, RK-Fan may have more thoughts after he's processed the game that he beat an hour and a half ago.
If that. Yeah, very barely that.
From the time of recording. Is it a masterpiece? Is it the best game of all time? In my opinion, no. It's pretty good, though.
I'm gonna quote Video Game Donkey and say it's a masterpiece.
Dang. All right.
Well, hey, what masterpiece it is. Quote RK-Fan quoting Donkey. But nonetheless, a new Zelda is about to dawn. Dawn of the first day is upcoming. And hey, if you play it, if you're listening to Scrollies as you play it, let us know what you think of it in the Team Ratnado Discord or the huge Discord. I've been SqatCobblr of the Scrollies podcast, of the YouTube, of the Twitch. And let me tell you, I don't know what Nintendo was thinking dropping a Zelda right in the middle of Metroid May, because we're playing Metroid games. We're going through AM2R, we're going through Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, and we're going through Metroid Samus Returns. Those are all 3 different games. I know they sound very similar and look very similar, but they are 3 different games.
They all have Metroid in the title.
We're also going through Metroid Prime 2 as a Let's Play series on YouTube, so check all those out. I'm joined by my co-host.
Hey, what's up? Team Ratnado. Actually, Team Ratnado is the boy. The actual streamer for that, her name is Wrinkle. Kind of like Linkle, but with an R. Much like Zelda. Zelda is not Link. No, just kidding. Hey, what's up? I'm doing 2 streams of Final Fantasy XIV a week. By the time you hear this, I might be done with Dread.
I thought you were about to say I might be done with Final Fantasy XIV. I'm like,
no, definitely.
No, the world's gonna end before that happens.
Definitely not. But I'm getting close.
No one's ever truly done with Final Fantasy XIV. They just abandon it.
Exactly. Next up, who knows? Maybe it'll be Tears of the Kingdom, and I'll squeeze a little Sonic Frontiers in between. So
we got 2 open world exploration games. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Breath of the Chili Dog. And we would like to extend a very warm thank you to our guest, RelientKFan. Tell us, where can the people check you out? Because it's not under twitch.tv/RelientKFan.
It is not, funny enough. And thank you guys, thank you back for having me on. It was a pleasure and a joy. You can find me streaming on twitch.tv/LeThickeBois. It's weird spelling. LeThickeBois. So nothing is normal there.
Who are they? What?
It's a bizarre name. But yeah, you can find me streaming over there, and that's kind of the main place you'll find me. I will be at RatCon late this May, Memorial Day weekend. I will be there with both Team Ratnado, SqatCobblr, and many others. So there will be streams from Team Ratnado, I'm sure, but there will also be an IRL stream or 2 from my channel, LeThickeBois. So.
Sadly, no Susaru restaurant streams. Not this time.
No Susaru, unfortunately.
We'll do our best to get something.
They opened like a second location called Juju, which is like a 10-course meal thing. And it's like $150 or something.
That's just a little over 2 Tears of the Kingdom copies, right, NATO? I think RelientKFan can swing that.
It is with tax. No, like, I don't think I'm the person who would end up at Disney World for a honeymoon, but if I did, going to that Susaru 10-course thing would be a requirement.
Perfect.
Very nice, very nice. All right, well, everybody, I hope you enjoy your upcoming Zelda playthroughs. I hope you are taking it easy, kicking back and wandering across the same old ground that is the familiar land of Hyrule. Everybody, thank you all for listening, and we will catch you in the next one. See you later.
And until next time, keep on scrolling.
Bye.